I said I'll do this talk because I'm getting a lot of peculiar sort of questions and responses recently. So I said this talk is long overdue. So the reason why I said that this particular talk needs to be done is because I find a lot of people want a guarantee that while their life will improve for the better, it won't change in any important way. You know, the the life should improve and become better in all ways, but it should be also exactly the same as it continues. So I call that the me plus approach. I just you just want the next version of the software. But you shouldn't change your operating system in any way. It should just be upgraded. And unfortunately in yoga your operating system gets changed. Your entire way of functioning transforms. So I thought it's an interesting thing to explore because so many people, you warn them that the body is liable to react in this way. You warn them that you're liable to change your emotions. And people give feedback that I used to be very ambitious and now I'm not, and that is causing trouble with the family. So there are multiple approaches to this me plus. Now the reason why the me plus is so popular is because that's what many supposedly spiritual practices promise. They sell the spiritual practices with the assurance that you will sleep better, your health will improve, you will become what I once said. I said it very bitterly, but it's still true. I said that there is the promise that you will become more efficient and effective in your social prison. You will just become much more capable of functioning better in your environment, which is not exactly why one should come to yoga. Yes, no doubt, but the if you have a sort of practice where you can function in your job or your life and you need to go there every 6 months and keep replenishing yourself, or you need to keep going there every 6 months, then what you're doing is you're finding a practice or a method or a system or a process that does not in any way transform you. It just allows you to manage what is going on. Now I wouldn't run that down. I wouldn't say that is a wrong thing. It is useful. It enables you to function. But it should not be called a spiritual practice. Because a spiritual practice will transform you at a root level, and especially something like our 8 spiritual breaths, it has the audacity to say that it will transform you at a cellular level, not just at an emotional level, not just at an. But people are so much in love with their conditioning, people are so much in love with the standard givens. There are certain expected things you're supposed to do, that when a genuine transformation happens, they panic. They actually think that this is something wrong, that this is something, you know. Very often we start doing things because we are told, or the entire society or the entire environment validates us in that. Get highly educated, get a good job, make a lot of money, and that might not be something that you were really very keen. You were good at it, so you did it, but it might not be something that in any sense made you happy. And unfortunately, in our setup, in our environment, being happy is not a priority. Yes, And especially if you are a family person and you have responsibilities, if you say that I am unhappy, it is regarded as some kind of immaturity on your part. You're a family person, you have children dependent on you. Where did you develop the taste for such luxuries, like happiness? it's it's not a, it's regarded as a very unsporting thing that you raise. It's regarded as a very graceless thing to bring about, that I'm not happy with fulfilling my responsibilities, I'm not happy with doing these things. But and then of course people have that standard accusation, you have changed, so there are so many things to consider in this. And then there is the other side of the story, in that many people don't want to take on responsibility, many people don't want to do the things that, so they want a socially accepted way to drop out, they want a socially accepted way to be lazy, so they come to spirituality. I get these letters all the time. My family is constantly on my case. I'm interested in spirituality, but they are like, you're wasting your life. So see, if this is an authentic case of renunciation, if this is an authentic case of vairagya, you would not be with your family, you would be out. You would have quit and gone. So in that sense, when you are in the society and you are living by the parameters of the society, you cannot really blame them if they say that you are parasiting of them, because from their parameters it is true. You cannot just evade, so they get a little disappointed because they were hoping for validation from me, and I'm telling them, no, you get a job and you take some financial responsibility for your life, and in between you continue sadhana. They were hoping for validation that what we are doing, or a refusal to engage with the world, is actually a sort of seal of approval or a validation of our being more spiritual. And I cannot go down that road, because the whole Aurobindo process, all life is yoga. So, and I am also coming to believe that unless you are in renunciation, you have dropped everything. You've gone and put on the saffron robes and you're sitting in an ashram. Even over there, maybe it's dangerous, but okay, that's actually a socially acceptable thing. But I'm coming to believe that if you really want to progress in spirituality, if you don't have some small measure of social success and social validation, you will actually fail later on. Because the frustration of not having achieved what is supposed to be thought of as social success, the frustration of not having been in a good relationship, the frustration of not having had the European holiday or the swanky car and all that, will come and derail you. So many teachers, especially Gurdjieff, he was the only person who was very honest about it. He would not accept people to do the work, as he used to call it, who did not already have a certain measure of success. Because he was like, all those frustrated desires, all those frustrated social norms in you, all those lacks in you will one day rise up. They will become boulders in your path and they will derail you. And I am coming to see that perhaps that is not a wrong way to look at it. That, even for us, sannyasa was the end of life. Sannyasa was at age 75. You had 25 years of training, 25 years of grihastha ashrama, 25 years of vanaprastha. And then at 75, if you still wanted to, then you could take up sannyasa. So this whole monastic approach is wrong. And even in the monastic approach, the fact of all the kind of politicking and the game playing and the spite and the jealousy and all that breaks out even in ashrams. That jockeying for closeness to the leader, to the guru, all that is basically stuff that you could have worked out in the world. You could have basically worked out in the world. You could have, why do you come to an ashram and then start office politics in the ashram? And trust me, there is no politics like ashram politics. The kind of pathetic things into which people get into spite and hatred. And a lot of large organizations grow because they use the excess psychic energy. They put all the people into celibacy. When you put people into celibacy and it is not being expressed physically, that becomes excess psychic energy, and that psychic energy is used. So I don't want to go into that direction also, because that is a very manipulative way of, that cannot be counted as genuine spirituality. But unfortunately, it is one of the fastest growing templates for spiritual organizations. A lot of organizations, if you want to be a renunciate, you basically have to hand over all your physical possessions and your bank balance. So you're purchasing. This was what was called a sinecure. It was you could go to the government and you could make a donation and you could purchase. So you would make an investment and then you would be given a monthly sort of return on when you invest. You had a position, you had something to do, you had an office to go to, you had some work to do, but it was a very, they used to be called sinecures. They no longer exist, but it seems in these places they continue to exist. Now, what does all this have to do with spirituality? What does all this have to do with personal transformation? It's quite a different thing. So if that is how you get your renunciation, you might as well stay in the world and do it. But at the deeper level, that is not what I'm concerned with. At the deeper level, though, all those are very real issues. All those are very, very real and significant issues. At the deeper level, what bothers me is people want benefit. They don't want change. Now, benefit does not happen without change, and change does not happen without some kind of discomfort. Actual organic growth does not happen. So, these processes, these spiritual processes are all internal. They are all internal processes. They are all organic processes. People actually want external accretion. They want external accumulation. They want things to be added on. They don't want things to enlarge. And this was a very perplexing realization for me for a long time, that actually nobody wants to enlarge, nobody wants to grow. They want addition, they want accretion, they want accumulation, they want things to pile up, and even in their sadhana, that's what they want. Even in the yogic process, that's what they want. Because I find this really funny when people say that now I can't stay up till 1 o'clock at night. And why do you want to stay awake till 1 o'clock at night? That's an unhealthy sleep pattern. It's not even about how many hours you get sleep. Even when you sleep matters. And if you're up till 1 and 2 at night, you become an owl. You're no longer a human being. Why are you complaining that because I have done the kriya or I have done the sadhana or I am doing the meditation? Nowadays, I fall asleep while watching TV or reading the book. I cannot. Is that a net improvement or is that a regression? So so even when the change happens for the better, even when your body is coming into a more natural human way of being, there is resistance, there is complaint. That people go into meditation and the identification with the body shakes loose and the consciousness emerges from the cage of the body, and that scares them. Because they are so used to having the thought that I am the mind, I am the emotion in the body, that when they have their first experience that your mind is actually quite independent and most of what you call your mind is anyways just nonsense that you pick up from the environment, that realization is very shocking to them. So, is this the fault of the people who teach these processes, that they do not correctly explain what may be expected? Very often, yes. Very often, yes. Or is it a psychological problem in human nature that I can get all the benefits without having to pay any price or without having to change in any way? No, it's like the whole stomach stapling approach to weight loss, you know. Like you just staple your stomach till you cannot eat anymore, you know, at a, because it's a very, what do we call it? It's a very body centric, it's a very mechanistic approach. It's an approach of technique. It's not even a process approach, it's a technique approach, it's a method approach. So if you teach a meditation to manage stress, that is well beloved. Now if you ask a very fundamental question, why on earth would you want to manage your stress? Get rid of it. And here I teach you something that will keep you in an equanimous state, will keep you in a happy state, which will keep you in a state where you are basically cocooned and protected from the external input that causes and triggers stress in you. That is looked at with suspicion. You know, that is looked at with a lot of fear also. Because the belief is, if you are successful, you must be stressed. You know, that success cannot come in a state of joy, ease and lightness. Success has to come with a heavy preponderance of worry and fear and anxiety and enmity from other people around you. And you know, these are all the conditionings, and I have discovered that people love their conditionings more than anything else. You know, they hang on grimly to their conditionings. They will fight like wounded tigers to preserve and save their conditionings rather than just drop it, you know. And you know, we also have problems. You know, we just had an example today that I'd rather deal with it that way rather than fight with my mom. Now I'm not knocking that, you see, because we have to live in society, we have to live with our relationships, and we know that is the way people are. But you know, at the same time, you cannot come into a deep process like what we do. You cannot come into Sannidhi meditation, you cannot come into 8 spiritual breaths and then think your life will remain the same. Your life will not become a plus version, you know, it won't become a me plus version. What you consider to be me may have to be totally relooked. You know, because I remember this, one of my early days as a tarot reader, where somebody had just discovered that his wife was having an affair, and he was all properly steamed up, and he was very angry, and he was very jealous, and none of that I was seeing in the cards. So it was a little puzzling to me that the person is saying one thing, but the cards are showing something. So finally I said, are you really that upset about this whole situation? Do you really care, and are you really angry? Or are you just acting the role that society expects you to act? That, you know, you should be offended and you should be jealous. And whatever reason, that person was in a receptive mode and just thought about it and said, yeah, actually, oh, thank God, because now I can walk without feeling guilty. And you know, his marriage was just a burden. The relationship was just a burden. He had become so completely indifferent to the person he was living with that he no longer even had hatred and anger. You know. But you know, that's not socially acceptable. You're supposed to feel a certain kind of emotion. So he had lost touch with what his real emotion was, or his real feelings towards his marriage was. And when I asked him that question, he could just yeah, actually I don't want this. I don't want the relationship and I don't want this person in my life and I just want out. But even to honestly acknowledge that is not possible. Even to honestly acknowledge that is simply not possible, because what will people say? How can you just give up on your marriage like that? And how can all the standard. It's like say something new, no? When you're giving people these advice bhashans also, please say something creative and original. Please don't repeat the same nonsense that your great grandfather has been saying, and you just repeat it like a rote formula. And one of the problems that happens when you do meditation, not a problem, one of the consequences that happen when you do meditation is that you start functioning from an original vibration. You no longer start functioning from the social vibration. You no longer start functioning from the familial conditioning, the cultural conditioning, the country conditioning, the environment conditioning. You start really accessing something fresh and new and original about yourself, and that is very disconcerting to the people around you 100%, some very often to yourself also. That when you discover this is who I actually am, this is what I really care about, this is what my true values are. None of us really sit down and think about it. What do I really care about in life? What are my genuine opinions and my genuine values about something? Because they are all ready made. You just have to pop into the microwave and heat up whenever needed. It's 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 very, very rare that it is something authentic and true to yourself. And when you start doing 8 spiritual breaths, when you start doing meditation, that side of you starts awakening, and that really causes discomfort. It really causes. So it's been not an issue, but it's been something I've been observing, and I'm like, why is everything looked at in terms of immediate tangible material benefit, or why is everything looked at in terms of it should not cause disruption in my routine, it should not cause disruption in my habits? Why are your habits and your routine so privileged? Why are we so sure? Because if your life was optimal, you wouldn't need yoga, meditation, kriya. You're coming to yoga, meditation, kriya because you feel there is a lack, or because you feel it can go up. But the whole process, I find, is that benefits must flow without change happening. Now, how is that possible? And it's a default expectation. Now, yes, in the beginning, when your body is detoxing, certainly you will vomit, you will go running to the loo, you will be all heated up. No, but after that, when you find that you're much healthier, you don't fall ill, you have more energy on a daily basis, you don't need to sleep as much. Was that not worth it? Now that's at a physical level where we can all understand. But at an emotional level, or even at a mental level, where we don't get thrown off balance so easily, where the things that used to irritate us don't irritate us so much more, or this is of course the unpopular side of it, we don't put up with nonsense because we are expected to be nice. We just tell people bluntly. We just realize that life is short and I don't have time to waste in putting up with nonsense, so we speak up. Are these not gains? Are these not? But the like I said, because people are in love with their conditionings. People are in love with their vasana samskaras, and they don't realize that you can consciously change who you are. You can consciously transform who you are. And I don't think it's fair to shift it completely to environment and family and culture. Because a large amount of time it's that we give them as reasons for not wanting to change. Not even as reasons, we give them as excuses, because very often people tell me and I say, yes, those are the excuses. They are very good excuses. Now give me some reasons why not. So because it works from both ends of the spectrum. You see, it works as spirituality as an excuse to be a lazy bum, and it's like, no, this is transforming me too much, this is bringing about things in myself, or this is, especially people who have been very driven, to succeed in societally approved manners, and then they do meditation and then they realize, I really don't want to get one more ulcer, that really does not matter to me, that I am quite content this way. And that of course becomes you used to be so different, you used to be, and now what has happened to you? Very often it happens the other way also, except that they are not gung-ho about it. People actually become more responsible, people actually become more successful, but because they are not the pushy type A driven kind of always making a noise about how hard they work, it is not observed externally, but very, very often people become much more productive and effective and efficient because they've started doing things like that. But this resistance, this eternal tamasic vibration of change being a reason for anxiety is something that bewilders me. And I just thought, we need to tell people, we need to tell them very clearly that if you're in sadhana, you will change. And so if you're not prepared for that, maybe you shouldn't be in sadhana, maybe you shouldn't be in meditation, maybe you shouldn't be. Because you will come not to your habit and your conditional state of being, you will come into your authentic state of being. And that is, most of it's the difference between Sarupa and Swarupa. Sarupa is our social personality, which is what we are so invested in, and Swarupa is our real personality, or authentic state of being. And sadhana keeps pushing you more and more into your. So I don't know. But it's just something I've been observing again and again and again, because the advice keeps coming in that, is there no way to harness the benefits without dealing with the change? I'm like, but the change is what is bringing the benefits. How can you? It's not a pick and choose aspect. No, it's all or one. So it's very interesting. But yeah, I just, that's why I called it the me plus approach. Like I want everything. I want everything to be better, but nothing must change. So yeah, at a very deep level, the entire operating system has to go. OS has to change. You just cannot upgrade the software. Okay.